Welcome back, everyone, to UB. And this week we have a special episode for you. We have, see, everyone's been asking over and over again to have some more casual players. So, of course, we had to bring the most casual players I know, Mickey D and Titanic. How are you guys
Hey
Let's
doing
man,
tonight?
go.
you didn't see me inside events crushing with that Kanan deck. I'll tell you that much.
The Canaan Creature deck?
The Kanan creature deck, Kanan Tarkentown with like every aspect imaginable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tried to get Clueless on, who was my casual brethren, but he was
Yeah,
busy. So we have to settle, for Tim and Mickey, which I am thrilled to have on uh, this week. I've been trying to, cycle through people, and you guys were at the top of the list. So thanks for coming on this
yeah,
week. Of course,
Yeah, good
joining
to be here,
us
man.
with them is Tyler, coming back from his big win last week. How's it going, Tyler?
Yay! Woo! We did it.
Did it. How's it
It's
going
fine.
this
Another
week?
6 weeks. It's going good, X2 to PQ, so hopefully this time we'll get it into top 8.
Nice, nice. And then, of course, CJ. Welcome back, CJ.
Feels great to be here. Of course, the biggest man in SWU has to be on the show with no sleeves.
It's hot in here, man. I got the AC running.
Yeah, it is not hot. It is not
Not
hot.
just trying to flex on people at all. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to make sure the not for kids button is clicked.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare anyone. So this is a pretty fun episode. Just this morning we had, or I guess yesterday, as of this airing, we had a couple big announcements. One, of course, the biggest one is for sectors, and the other one's for our regionals. We'll talk about that later. I have mixed feelings about it, as I'm sure you guys do as well. Uh, we'll save that topic for last. But we had, I believe, let me just confirm here, we had 18 PQs last week that we'll cover. Not all of them, of course, just do what we always do. Then we'll talk about a couple websites for data warehousing, which is swubase and swustats, which kind of just combines all the data for events. We're just going to talk about how we use it. These are some viewer questions. How we use it, how we use it to influence our choices, if we think it's accurate, just things like that. Uh, Another viewer question, which I found very like interesting, was about Petronaki and Karabast. How we use that to pick our decks. If we think a certain percentage of wins on there is worth bringing back to a team, just things like that. And then, of course, we'll talk about regionals. So I'm excited for those. I'll have some more thoughts later, but I think I'll be going to, I don't know, Philly for sure, maybe Portland. What about you guys? Tyler, are you going to
I'm
any of
going
these?
to, at least Philly. I was debating the Spanish one. Got to get those regional points. Those are pretty good, but probably just Philly, and then we'll see Portland as well. I would like to go, but with just being a week, it's gonna be tough to
Yeah.
plan around. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
back to back weekends is kind of a pain. Mickey, what about you? Are you going to any of these?
Unfortunately, I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the segment, but with only like 45 days lead up time, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to any of them.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
scheduling
rough.
time off, flights, all that. It's hard when you have 6 weeks or less.
Yeah. No, I agree. CJ, what about you?
Yeah, sadly, Philadelphia falls right on Pumpkin Fest, which is a pretty big thing in my town. And we already made plans. So can't go, which stinks because that's the closest one to me. And we'll talk about it when we get there, but we knew we weren't going to have enough time to make like real decisions on these, sadly. But
Yeah, I can't believe that Fantasy Flight Games didn't plan around Pumpkin Fest, but that's just wild.
it's
No, one of
unbelievable.
the biggest holidays in the world. Man.
It's
Biggest
huge.
holiday.
Huge.
Tim, what about you? Are you going to any of these?
Yeah, we're definitely going to Philly. We're gonna go stream it. That's the plan anyway. We'll see what happens. There's apparently some like venue issues in regards to like streaming.
Yeah.
So SCG is gonna find out about that for us. But we're definitely going to go there. There's some people like on the team that are a little miffed that it's a limited one, but you can talk about that later.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's a good segue because I'm sure that 99% of the world knows you by now. But if they don't, where can they find your streams, your channel, all that?
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't know about 99% of the world. I try to play like a little more of a background role, But yeah, we're on McClunky Gaming on Twitch and YouTube. We started out on Twitch, now we're both on YouTube and Twitch. Started out streaming PQs back in set 2, like the very first one, and just been going kind of like full steam ahead as best as possible since then. We just did the Hex and Co PQ in New York City last weekend, and we're gonna do 2 more this set. Red Seal in New Jersey and Tabletop in Connecticut. So
Sweet.
just look out for those streams.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, you and Claire do a great job with those. So I'm glad
Yeah.
to
Thanks, man.
see that you're going to try to stream Philly, and of course we'll always look for your PQ streams as well.
Cool.
So yeah, so with all the intros out of the way, we can jump into the first subject here, which is the weekly rewind. So last week we had, like I said a minute ago, 18 PQs. I do believe that all of them were constructed this past week. I believe there's another sealed one maybe next week. Um, and just looking at the overall data, we had 3 repeat champions. Quinlan won 5 of the 18, which is like a very high number.
Yep.
Boba won 3. That's JTL Boba, of course, with Data Vault for all of them. And Palpatine Yellow from set 1 actually won 2, which is including the Hex one that was fairly large, right? Wasn't it around 100 players?
No, it was actually less than, like, we thought it was gonna be like 100, but it was only like 75.
Okay.
It was 75 with me, but I dropped that last second. So
Yeah, still pretty reasonable, tournament.
Yeah, not bad.
It's worth pointing out that not necessarily just from last week, but the 4 largest PQs total, which we're looking at my records here, 3 from this past week and 1 from week 2, have been won by 2 by Boba and 2 by Quinlan. So those seem like right now the decks to beat. Do you guys like agree with that? Do you disagree? CJ, I'll start with you on this one. What do you think about the results?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the results for PQs, I think I've said it quite a few times. People are going to play what they want to play. It's a Star Wars game. They play the leaders they like, the characters they like. Quinlan is definitely an amazing deck. We know that. We saw it at Worlds. We've seen it for multiple sets. It's a 4-star deck. It's really good. Palp and Boba, like, that's not meta. Boba, like the Boba pilot deck to me is a good deck in that it makes your opponent have to make a lot of decisions each and every turn, which if they mess up, yes, you can then take that advantage and run with it. But it's really hard to win with that deck into skilled opponents who have a plan into you. I still think like the actual true best decks are still all the 4-star decks: Talzin, Han, Quinlan, even the Kylo Tarkin Town. Those are still the most powerful decks, and I see it all the time when I test online, and internally a lot. And those are still the ones still coming up on top most of the time. But in this game, as long as you have a plan, you're comfortable with your deck, and you know your matchups, you can definitely win with just about anything, right? Like that's been true for a long time in this game. But that doesn't mean that there's not a clear cut list of the best decks.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think the Boba deck is a little bit more real than you probably give it credit for. In the Pittsburgh PQ that I played in last week, there were like 7 or 8 Boba decks out of the 58 players. I was playing Luke Data Vault pilot and lost in the top 8 to a Boba Data Vault deck. And
Oh, what? Boba Data Vault beat Luke Pilot? Oh, man, must be a meta crusher then. Get out of here, Tatta. Get out of here. Oh, man.
That matchup's actually pretty even, but like my point though is just like the Boba deck is coming out in droves and it is winning these events. Like there was a ton of Quinlan there was a handful of Han, like there were good decks there, and it just like, I mean, I don't know, this deck just keeps finding a way to win. So it's probably a really good deck. Like I can't keep dogging on it forever because it's just winning multiple PQs every weekend. But we'll just kind of have to see.
I can keep dogging on it, and I will.
I'm sure you could. Tim, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely. I agree with CJ. There's definitely like these 4-star decks that are top of the game, but like they're PQs. Like at Hex, for example, we had like a player that like has been playing Pow Blue since set 1, and he like refuses to like rotate off it. And he did really well because like he knows the deck inside and out, right? But like also like based off of last week's results, we were like expecting more space aggro or aggro in general, but like there was basically virtually nothing at Hex. Like no space aggro. There was like a couple Vaders and like a couple Sabines, but like this gave like free reign for the Yodas to run. Like we had 3 Yoda reds in top 8, which is crazy. And our teammate Pasquale was like the finalist, right? So like they were able to just dodge all these bad matchups for them. So you're going to see this at these PQs. People are going to play what they want to play. And yeah, like I do think Boba 4 is a little more real, like you're saying, Tata, but it's I don't think it doesn't have a good game plan into like the real decks when it comes down to it. Like it's forcing other decks to react, but like, I think it's harder for them to come back like once they get to a certain point.
Yeah, yeah. Once they're behind, it's definitely hard for
Yeah.
them to come back. And like, it's crazy to see how different the metas are from like area to area. My area, like for both PQs I played in, have just been like the Wild West. Very few Han and Talzin, and just a ton of like just space decks or Boba JTL and like just all these random decks. And it's just been kind of wild and hard to actually pick a deck because
There is actually one thing I forgot to bring up, which actually is pretty relevant. The cost of these decks is wildly different, right? Like you can build that Boba deck for like nothing, but if you want to go buy Han and buy the Lukes, if you don't already have them, buy the Anakins, buy all the things you need to build that deck, the Crate Dragons, all that, it's got to be one of the most expensive decks, right? Same thing with Talzin on the other side.
Han probably is the most, because you have Luke, Anakin, and Crate. I mean, those 3 by themselves. I mean, Luke's are what, still $40 or so.
40,
I think
yeah.
Anakin's are about that. Crates are like 20, probably.
35s,
Yeah.
25s, yeah.
And
crazy.
what card does Boba even play? Like they're all commons and uncommons, right? Just about.
Like if I don't even think they
Devastator?
play that one Vader, right? It's
Right.
Devastator's the big thing.
Devastator, and then Crate. Yeah, Crate out of the sideboard, most of them play now. But, still, like, that's what, 2 legendaries? I can't think of any other legendaries. Maybe Vader Pilot, but he's cheap. So yeah,
like is the
that's a good point.
more expensive anymore? That used to be
No.
yeah.
Like $4 probably.
I don't think cost is like a big thing in this game though, like compared to other card games. Like I think the majority of the player base, they're like, middle age or 30s or late 20s. They have income. They can buy the cards. You don't have like 15-year-olds running around trying to like assemble decks.
I was with you. I had that same thing. I got called out on Discord hard the other week.
I agree
was
with you guys. Like I don't think cost is really a barrier for most people, but I think at a PQ
of course there are
level,
going to be people.
You might see some like cost barrier, like 20, 21, 22-year-old kids playing in some PQ in like a college town or like whatever might not be able to afford set 1 Lukes because they started playing the game in set 3. So like, I mean, that's possible. I don't think it's a huge barrier, but you might get a handful of people that are like that. Mickey, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I noticed was kind of the lack of the hyperspace aggro. So like the week previously, we had seen Poe's on the rise, we'd seen Kazuda on the rise, we'd seen Vader win a PQ. And I think that's part of where Boba's like getting its meta share is I haven't played a ton of Boba Data Vault. I'm with CJ. I think that deck is not as good as the results would show you, but I think Boba eats up on these more aggressive space decks because it can contest in the space lane. It can create a big threat in the mid game while also clearing a bunch of units. It has overwhelming barrage. It has ramp, and so like it can stabilize against these super fast space decks. And with the lack of those in the top 8, I think kind of Boba's eating those up on the way to the top 8. As for like Quinlan's representation for wins, I think Quinlan is a great top 8 deck. I think it's a deck that can spike a tournament at any week if you get the right draws. You don't really have any poor matchups. There's like, I don't ever sit down across from a deck and think, oh crap, I'm dead. There's some matchups I prefer not to see. Usually like 4 deploy leaders are scary, especially if they're pilots, but you have a lot of tools now. And I think because Han 2 Blue exists in the format, it's kind of warping how these other decks, like especially the aggressive decks, have to build their deck in order to contest the Hantu Blue. For example, Sabines are like cutting dark sabers in favor of Yoda's lightsabers. They're cutting wing leaders. I don't think this is correct, but they're doing it because it helps into the Hantu Blue matchup potentially. Those changes make it easier for Quinlan to kind of overcome these challenges. And so this tension in the metagame, I think, is why I have said this for as long as Quinlan has existed. I think it's like the third best deck in the format, but it's in the best position. And I think I still think that's true. It's like Hantu Blue is probably better. One of the blue-red villainy decks is probably in a vacuum better, but Quinlan kind of beats up on those decks and is good into the rest of the field.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. Tyler, what do you think about the results?
Yeah, I think definitely what we saw last week is I think Boba is definitely more a contender of some people saw it win a couple events last week, and so the numbers ticked up, and so we saw more people winning the deck. I think this is going to continue all the way up until we get to our first sector, until we'll start to see a more concentrated field. We're going to see like a Kazuda win a couple events, and then Kazuda's going to go up. We're going to see all these random decks. Like the Palpatines won at least our event at Hex. I imagine we're going to see more Palpatines going to next week. We'll see how they do with all the aggro decks and a lot more events that have a lot more aggro. But none of these PQs are ever going to show any sort of commonality. They're going to be completely different. I am very surprised at the fact that I think doing Force Throw is the best card. I do still think we're doing great with Force Throw. I love Quinlan. Quinlan's great. Han, still, I think, most played deck and at least a majority of all of these PQs. I'm more surprised at how much Talzin has just completely dipped out. I'm surprised that it's not up there comparing to Han and Quinlan. I don't necessarily know why Talzin's dropped off so much. I don't know if there's a specific matchup that it's killed it. It's not my deck forte. I think it's just surprising that it's not like where Boba's spot is if you go and look at stats.
Yeah.
I hate to say this because like I don't want to like give too much credit to everyone else, but I do think Talzin's actually a really hard deck to play. Like I don't think you have a lot of extremely favorable matchups, and I think you have to be really tight with your lines to maximize your actual ability, and that's challenging, right? And I think a lot of people try to pick up the deck and then they struggle.
Yeah, I noticed because I played Talzin at a PQ this past weekend just to like, it's Quinlan-esque and how it plays. And a big thing I noticed is like when and how you use the Force. Because like you can use the Force, you think innocuously, just like giving something -3/-3 with a Talzin's Assassin to kill it, or maybe just save some damage. And then like 2 turns later, you need the Force for like a 4-drop Heroic Kiadi, or you need the Force for your Tyrannus. And like by using the Force, they knew that they could then clear your Force units and keep you off of it for the rest of the game. And so like little intricacies like that of a decision now is going to impact me 2 turns from now.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a great point. And just looking at like the week 3 like share for all decks played, it's like Quinlan is by far and away the most played deck right now. It had over 100 total entrants, which is crazy. And then Boba was second. Vader was actually third. I mean, the first Force deck, I mean, not counting Quinlan, of course, but like actual Force dedicated deck with the Force base was Han at 4th and Talzin at 5th. Like that's a big change from the week prior. Let me just take a peek real quick at the week prior. It was like Talzin was the most played deck in week 2 with Han being second and Quinlan third. So that's a pretty big jump. I mean, Boba went from 5th to 2nd, which is a pretty big change, whereas like Han went from 2nd to 4th and Talzin from 1st to 5th. So it's still kind of in flux. You know, I think as the weeks go on, maybe going into this week, Han might be more played again because the meta is just kind of in this weird, funky spot. I'm not sure, but just from a week to week glance, it is quite interesting to kind of see what things are doing, you know, in that respect. So if there was a sector this weekend, what would you play? Mickey, what would you play?
Yeah, pretty obvious. I'm playing Quinlan. I've been playing that deck for 3 sets now, and I think it's hard to hate out. Still in a good position. I think I can beat up on the early rounds of random stuff, and by the time I get to the later rounds, I expect people to be back on the Talzins and the Han2s of the world, and so Quinlan.
Yep. And Tyler, what about you?
I agree. I'm a newcomer to Quinlan, only played this set, but deck has not done me bad in any event I've played so far, so there's no reason to give up on it.
CJ, what's your answer?
Yeah, I'd be on Han Blue. I played it on stream today, just crushed. At my PQ, I felt invincible until the top 4. Like the deck just does so many powerful things.
Yeah.
And I think just like Quinlan, all these top decks, you do have to make some pretty big main deck changes to adjust to the expected meta, and you can get those wrong. But if you get those right, you're feeling really good. And so I'd be on Han,
So,
and I would tweak it to whatever we expect the meta to be, right?
Yeah. And Tim, what about you?
I mean, I'm with Mickey and Tyler. I've been playing Quinlan. Well, basically decided to do so with Tyler like right before GC, and like, not to say I did well at GC. Like, talk about casual. I just pretty much dropped from the main event, went to go play craps. But you know, I do think it's a really good deck. I personally need more like reps with it. It's a very hard deck to like win with. It's a very good deck, but like you need a lot of reps. You need to know every single matchup, like how to sideboard every single matchup, and like when to pass, when not to pass. Like there's a lot of like a lot of little things you need to know with the deck.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm on.
Yeah.
So 3 Quinlans and a Han. Me personally, I have no idea. So I'm glad there is no sector this weekend. I would play some Data Vault deck. Like there's probably no surprise there. Maybe Ray. I mean, Ray has actually been pretty cool. It just kind of beats it up on all the random stuff, but I don't know. We'll see. Fortunately, there's still 4 more weeks of PQs, and then we can actually figure out kind of what the meta looks like. So that's a good segue into the next topic, which is about the site that I'm actually using right now, which is swubase.com, I want to say. And I'll put these links in, down below so you guys can check it out if you haven't. But swubase and swustats are 2 sites that kind of house data. Swubase uses tournament data and kind of puts it in like a graph or a chart, however you want to see it. It shows winners, it shows top 8s, it shows total reps. So you can kind of see what's winning events, what's topping, et cetera, et cetera. And swustats is actually a site that tracks Petra Naki. I don't think it tracks Kara. I think it's just Petra.
Yeah.
Yeah, data. When someone imports their deck and then uses it, you can see its play rate, its win rate, etc. through Petra, and it's all on this one site called swustats. So I'll link those down below. So me personally, I don't use swustats that much. I'll glance at it from time to time prior to a big event, because in the past for sectors, it has been extremely accurate. Predicting what the total representation of decks and sectors will be like. Like I can't think of a time that it wasn't within like 5%, which is kind of crazy. And then swubase is a newer site that just popped up maybe 4 or 5 months ago. That tracks all these PQs. I actually use it quite a bit. I use it every week to kind of see what's winning. I don't necessarily use it to inform my deck choices, but I do like to see what's winning, what's topping, what's the most played, so that I can kind of alter my sideboard more than anything to be prepared for the most played decks. So, this is a viewer question. They wanted to know how much we use these tools to make deck choices or to inform maybe our choices in the sideboard, just things like that. CJ, do you use these tools? Do you look at them?
Yeah, I think they definitely offer some powerful data. However, I think the majority of the data, I'll start with swustats, is flawed in that you have to be a user of the swustats. And honestly, I know a lot of the competitive players are just not using it. So the data you're getting is extremely skewed. And you'll even see in there like 1 or 2 players might have hundreds and hundreds of games with one deck that's skewing it, and we don't know, they may or may not be even a good player, right? And we have no idea exactly who they're playing against. I think that tool could be extremely powerful if it was able to just scrape all the data. So if it could scrape all the games played and put it out, I think we would have extremely accurate data and it'd be great. But that's just not how it works. The other tools are great for the big tournaments, like after a sector, after regional, after worlds, getting a glance at what's going on. But we just talked about how the PQ data, it's just regional, right? Like you can't really like look at the PQ data and go, yeah, we know what the meta looks like, because I don't think we're gonna have a sector tomorrow and everyone's gonna be on Boba Data Vault, right? I just don't think that's gonna be real. I don't think that would happen. And so I think the data there is like just a little flawed. But I think they're powerful tools for sure, but you just like any data, and I know a lot of us work in fields where we utilize data. It's all about the context of the data and understanding it, right? You can't just go in and expect to utilize it just how it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can make this data look however I
Yeah,
want
however you
to
want.
best form, my own, point. But it's with Boba JTL being played so much, like I would be surprised personally if there was a sector this weekend and it wasn't like the second or third most played deck. Like that would be surprising to me. But
I think it'll get played a lot. Whether it converts at the rate it has been is a different
exactly.
question entirely. But.
Exactly. Tim, what about you? Do you use these tools?
I mean, like probably for GC, for example, like we were using swustats to a decent degree. Like, I think it's useful testing to see like what cards are successful when you're winning, like which cards are instrumental and things like that. But like I agree with CJ, it's very very skewed. It's not all the games being used for the data, so like you don't know what's actually being played out there. It is a good indication of like the top played decks. Like you could see, I mean they split the base themselves
Right. Yeah.
like red, blue, whatever. You can kind of see like what's being played the most on Petra, whatever. Um, but like this is something I always say to like my teammates because we have a couple guys that are like they have hard-ons for like pure data, and like I think you have to take data with like a grain of salt because it's kind of like a snapshot, all right, of like a frozen in time moment, and like people are unpredictable. Like either they're going to follow the meta or they're going to like be reactive to like the data, right? So like, for example, I do think there's going to be a continuous uptick in Boa just because like in part of the results, the winning results, and also because the deck is just like easy to play. It's a proactive deck, and it's like you make other people respond to you instead of like thinking of what you do in this situation, like how do you react and all that. But like we have some members on our team, like maybe more of the casual players, but they're considering on playing the deck based on the past results. After all these wins, some people assembled it for locals, and they're like, "Oh my god, this deck's pretty good." So you're gonna see that for sure. And swubase, I think it's a good site, but again, it's just like CJ was saying, and we were talking about earlier, PQs are regional. It's not going to tell you like what to do for your personal PQ. It could help for like sectors and regionals, but you shouldn't you shouldn't take that data and just be like, okay, this is what we're going to see at our local, and I need to prepare for that. Of course, you should make informed decisions in like sideboarding, like you said, but I don't think you should take it as gospel.
Yeah, good point, Mickey.
Yeah, so for swustats, I like swustats specifically for deck building as opposed to like a meta share breakdown. So an anecdote in testing, I don't know when this would have been, maybe set 4 with Quinlan. I had like 40-ish games on the deck, and if you go into your deck stats, it shows you like how many times you've played a card, how many times you've resourced a card, how many times you've discarded it, etc. But the big numbers for me are how many times you play the card and then how many times you've won when you've played the card. I love that stat. And this was at a point, it might have been set for it since like Django Meta or something, but basically Kira has always kind of been on the chopping block of Quinlan. It's like, is it better than Quinlan Unit? Is it better than K2? Is it better? It's like, is it Ahsoka that gets cut? And then I looked at my stats for Kira, and I had played Kira 25 times in those 40 games, and I had won 25 times. And so like that, while relatively small sample size, is like the beginning of a trend showing, when I play this card, I win. Now, without context, is like, are you playing this card because you feel ahead enough on board, you have the leverage to play it, and since you're ahead on board, you're going to win anyway? Who knows? But like small stuff like that, I like to add into consideration for like these fine tunings of decks. for meta-analysis, I don't do much of my meta-analysis on swustats. On swubase, there is one particular feature I do really like, and it's the matchup chart, because you can tinker around with the matchup chart a lot. I especially really like doing the custom filter on it. So you can filter it by what round, like the minimum round in. So like I want all decks, but only from round 5 onwards. And then you can also do it by match points. So I want all decks from round 5 onwards, their results at 12 match points or higher. And so like these are the games that matter with the players that are playing for something. And I love doing that. And like even tinkering around with that kind of match point differential and what round you're in, you see a lot of drastic data shifts early to late in the tournament. I don't like to read too much into it, because like still, even with what 30-40 PQs played at this point, it's still kind of a small data set in the
not
grand
even.
scheme of
It's like
things.
32 PQs. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's still small.
Still a small data set in the grand scheme of things, but you can kind of start to see trends. One of the most interesting things I noticed is if you go to like a certain match round, I think it's round 5 with 13 points. So like players who are drawing into top 8 or are like basically in top 8 already. Han has a positive matchup into like pretty much all of the top decks, including Quinlan. And so that was pretty interesting to see. I don't know, is that a player thing? Is that a variance thing? Is that like a deck building decision that like
Yeah.
the best performing Hans are building their deck this way? But there's some interesting stuff you can do with swubase for sure.
Yeah, swubase is probably my favorite site for data like this for the reasons you mentioned. I actually treat it like gospel for the most part. Like it's awful to do that, but like I look at it and I'm like, oh, Quinlan is the most played deck by a mile, so therefore my next PQ will have 15% Quinlan, and like it's usually not that far off. Like it's kind of crazy, but I'm sure that's just coincidence. With
And then you
with
played
small
Luke
data.
Pilot Data Vault to respond to that.
And I beat every Quinlan, so like it just worked out. So,
There you go.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, as everyone already said, swustats is really good internally. If you're using it for your personal growth and for your own deck construction, it's great. If you try to use it and view it as a public metagame, it's terrible. I do, though, love swubase and Swu Competitive Hub. Both of those sites are great to see everything that's been going on in the past weeks. Nice, clean, easy information. I will never use it to assume what's happening at my local event. There's nothing of these are going to change from your local PQ. Like we had, Han was number 1 at Hex, 9 games. Then we had, I think next was Vader at 6, and then Sabine was at 3. So the aggro decks combined barely beat out on Han. I didn't say hater. I love it. I use it. I just don't read it as much as you do. I think that they're going to be great for when we get past sectors. You're going to go, everyone's going to see it, and we're going to probably right out. Well, the next sector won't see the change because it's a limited one, but going into the PQs afterwards, I imagine that the numbers will follow a lot closer to than what we have in sectors for Oregon. And I think we're going to get a lot more of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, you make good points. Can't argue with you there, but I feel like you're hating on swubase, and that's my boy. So I have no idea who
look at it
actually
every
runs
week.
swubase. I have no like stock in swubase. I just think it's a really sweet resource. I work in data, so it's like I see something like this, and I'm like, okay.
Also, the website layout is really clean. It's really easy to like click around and interact with.
Yeah.
Not an ad. Not an ad.
So this kind of segues into the third topic, which is another question from viewers. It's kind of a lengthy question, but I just kind of shortened it somewhat. But the actual question is, how much weight should a competitive player put on online play results versus paper tournaments when kind of looking at the meta and their own skill level, right? So it's like with platforms like Kara and Petra being so popular and so easily accessible, there's like the question there of whether the strong online play like actually translates to success in tournaments. So it's like for you guys and just for us, what do you think about Petra and Kara, results versus translating to tournaments? Like me personally, I don't always play on Petra that often. Lately, I've been playing a lot more, but in the past, I don't really use my results on Kara or Petra as like gospel, right? Like I lose a ton on Kara. Like I'll be honest. Like it's hard for me to focus on like a computer screen while other things are going on. Whereas at a tournament, I'm like more locked in. So that's really something you have to keep in mind. Like if you're like a Kara grinder, and you win a lot, and then you go to a real tournament and lose, and you're like, man, why did I lose? Because I do so well on Kara. Like you might want to look at just trying to get out and play more in person because it's kind of a whole different animal. Um,
I also think a big difference is 95% of online play, I'd say, is best of one, and tournaments are best of three.
yeah,
And I
good
think
point.
that makes a huge difference too.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. So I like to play on Kara a decent amount, but like when I'm playing on Kara, it's usually not in tournament grinding mode. I just like playing the game, and sometimes I'm at work and have a break, and I'll play a game or two on my phone, and maybe I'll play some wild off the wall decks. I mean, CJ, you were playing Poe Tarkentown, and like, well, that's not necessarily, it's not like a tier one deck, and it's got some edge into the meta, but like you're just playing for fun. The way I see online play though is there's some people that are like, oh, it's just Carabast, throw the data out completely. I think that's a bit reductive as well, because like sure there's a lot of players playing, but like if they're online playing a Star Wars card game on an internet browser, they're going to be at least somewhat invested. Plus, like Tata, you said it. I play on Carabas. A lot of like good players that are really invested into the game play on these platforms, and so it's not completely worthless. In terms of like skill level or like how I think of it, Carabas is like the first four-ish rounds of a tournament. You can expect to see about that level of play. Once you get past round four, if you're 4-0, you're going to start hitting all the grinders, and it's going to be more like internal team testing. Every player's good, but the first four rounds, both in terms of like the kind of decks you can expect, because you know you might pair into a Kanan blue on Carabast. There's probably going to be one or two of those at a sector, just because there's a person living in Portland and they really like Kanan, and they're going to bring their Kanan Colossus deck because it seems fun, and you might get paired into that guy. So I treat it like the first four rounds of a tournament in terms
Yeah.
of like difficulty and skill level.
No, I mean that's a really great point at it. I've never looked at it that way. It's like probably about the first 4 rounds. You're right.
Yep.
Tyler, what do you think?
I think that Carabas and Petronaki are not the best. That's coming from a player that's on a team that has other teammates to practice against, that also goes to a lot of events. I have a definitely skewed and different vision towards it compared to a lot of the players and stuff more casual that don't go to all these events. Like maybe do one PQ a season, maybe get out to a sector, or they maybe even go to Indies, just go to Galactics, from last year. And it's totally fine to use as a tool. I think do definitely harp on Tada's point that from our parents, we don't really are focused when we're playing Care Best. I think it's totally fine for a more casual person that can't just go out, grind with teammates, go play a bunch of in-paper session. Use it. Get whatever games you have on Petra, get every games you have on Carabas, but also spend time and think about what happens. Don't just autopilot. Don't just sit there, because otherwise, even if you're winning 1,000 games, if you don't understand why you're winning, you don't understand why the other person, what they're doing, if they're good or bad or however they're playing, if you're not building off of the constructive information, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Me personally, I will go on swubase. I'll take the last tournament events. I'll look at the top 8. I'll grab a cool deck that I haven't tried, and I'll run it on Carabas and Petronaki. If the deck doesn't give me like 50, 70% win rate off the start, I'll be like, it's probably not good enough for me. And that's how I typically do. It's just my dip my toes into the water, see, does this feel at all interesting for me want to continue pursuing outside of it?
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good point. I don't really look at So I do the same thing. I'll just grab whichever deck won the last event and just run some games with it. But I don't look at my results with that deck as really like worthwhile data. Whereas I look more at like the patterns and play lines. Because I learn more from losing than I do winning most of the time. Um, so that's just kind of my take on it. CJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're invaluable. I think everyone's points so far are extremely valid. You're not going to get the best of the best every single match you play on that. But for me, it's not about my opponent most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I recognize, and I think this is a skill you get from playing a lot of games on it when your opponent is actually misplaying right into your deck, and you can learn from that, right? Because it just like to everyone's point, you need to go in the match and you have to go in there with a mindset of learning, right, a matchup or learning a line or learning how to resource, right, and really paying attention to those things as you play, because this is all a muscle that you're working, right? You're getting these reps, and it can be just autopilot, you get nothing out of it, or it can be like, I now know how to resource with this deck better than anyone else because I've played the most games with it and I know how these play out, right? And you need to be able to recognize, though, when you win, right, why you won. Did you win because you did the right things and your opponent did the wrong things? Or like you have to understand where the turning points in the game were. And if you do that, the reps are going to be invaluable, especially if you don't get a lot of chances to play in person. The second big piece here is I use it a lot because I test a lot of different decks. And if I brought all those to my actual team testing, no one would ever want to play with me, right? No one's going to want to play against Poe Tarkentown for 30 games in a row, right? Like that's nonsense. But I can go on Kara, and if I get like an 80-90% win rate with it, I can bring it back and go, hey guys, there's something here. Let's talk about it. Right.
Mhm.
And so I think that's where it becomes valuable. And I think there is something to be said that I think the competition in those online platforms have increased dramatically. Right.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
early on, I think I had like a 95 or like
Yeah.
93% win rate. And like now I'm definitely like 80, 75 to 80% probably is my win rate. And a lot of games are tighter and closer. I think everyone is leveling up and it's showing.
Mhm.
So I think the more you use it, the more valuable information you're going to get. And I learn a lot from my opponents, right? If they do something wacky and crazy, man, I'm like, whoa, can I do something with that? Right? Like, can
Yeah.
I leverage that in a deck somehow? Like their deck might not be good, but that one interaction they came up with is like, how can I leverage that? So you can learn a lot
Yeah.
from playing those games for sure.
I do want to add on to your first point real quick of like sometimes your opponents will misplay. Don't get into the like don't build the habit of like playing around your opponent misplaying, because
Mhm.
sometimes I've noticed myself, if I'm playing hundreds of games on Carabas, I just kind of assume that the misplay is going to happen, whereas round 10 of a regional, your opponent's going to do the most annoying play for you every single time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I have like thoughts on both sides, like CJ's point and Tyler Mickey's point. Like, I do think like you shouldn't focus on the overall results of Petronaki. I mean, like, there is something to be said. Like, if you're not winning with like your final version of the deck or quasi final version of the deck, if you're not winning like 80-90% of the deck, it's probably not good. Just because like there are a lot of random people just playing Petronaki. There's people they're like Joe Schmo lying on his bed on his iPad, just like doing random actions. Like, yes, there are like people that of the more competitive caliber like playing there. So you have like great competitors like you guys on there as well. But I think, just because the sites have such wide reach and like there's so many more casual players out there, that's the majority of the player base, right? Um, I do think like you need to use them as just like pure reps because like I think most of us are like working professionals, people with families and stuff. We don't have the time to go out there, get paper games all the time, like maybe hit a local once a week or so. Like we're like in a special case where we do have like specialized teams of like really good players to test against, but like most people don't have that, right? They might have a small group of friends or whatever, but use this tool wisely, like use it as like endless amounts of reps, like learning new play lines, like testing new cards, how to resource, like, oh, if I draw this card on resource 4, like how does that play line like play out for me, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like again, like you shouldn't um be lulled into a sense of false security, like just because you're doing so well on these sites, When you show up to a tournament, it's probably not going to be like that. You shouldn't expect your opponent sitting across from you doing the same plays on Petronaki as like in real life.
Right. Yeah, they'll probably be playing better. Like you said,
Yeah.
like people are just kind of messing around on there a lot of the times. Like, people do take it too seriously sometimes. You see, like I get raged at all the time, which is kind of funny, but it's just, it's a good platform for practice, but like you guys are, all saying, I think, is you shouldn't take it too seriously. You should actually just care more about your lines and just practicing against, various decks than actual care about wins and losses. So,
Mhm.
so going into the last topic is about regionals and sectors. We touched on it earlier. I just want to say that I think that as we talked about, I think it was last week's episode, they do have to do better with their announcements. They announce things kind of late. I don't want to like give them too much of a pass, but we did just have Worlds and Gen Con, so they were kind of backed up, sure, but like we basically have what 5 weeks lead time until Portland. Which is like already borderline of when flights start to get a little bit more
But
expensive.
we don't have to give them any. I know people don't
Right,
want us to
yeah.
get negative.
No, I know.
They put the website up. It's one page with like a box that just had dates and a city. That's
Yeah.
all you had to do a month and a half ago. And guess
Right.
what? You had that data. Like,
Yeah.
period.
No,
I'm sorry, you
I
had it.
agree.
Put it up.
I
It's not
agree.
hard. Tweet it out. Random employee, tweet it out. Dude,
Yeah.
like, come on.
But it's what's irritating to me is that so this now that we have the schedule, it's like in the US there's 2 events. Fine. Like that's fine. I don't care. But what I care about is that they're literally back-to-back weekends on
Wild.
opposite coasts.
Not only
Like,
that, the Portland sector is the same weekend as a Portland PQ.
right.
Wild.
So like the
And
scheduling is nonsense.
and the Philly sector is the same weekend as New York Comic Con, which is like right there, as well. So it's like kind of poor scheduling. Like I know they don't care about New York Comic Con. There's probably not a ton of crossover there, but there's enough to where it's like you should probably plan a little better. But just what's irritating to me is that like so it's no surprise. Like I go to as many events as I can. I have not missed an actual SWU event yet in terms of like sectors
Same.
and regionals. And it's like I'm sitting there thinking it's like I can't do back to back weekends on like the opposite coast. And I'm like the game's number one grinder. Tyler's the same way, like Ian's probably the same way. And like
Yes.
we're like, how are we going to do this? It's like, can we?
It almost
Is
feels like
feasible?
a slap in the face to the grinders of like it's not meant for you to go to both. It almost feels like that's what they're saying.
Right.
It's like no, your East Coasters go to the East Coast one, and like if that's the case, then you don't even get to pick what format you want to play.
They should have
like
just
East
put it
Coast.
on the same weekend, like if
Yeah.
if that's the case. But it's like you couldn't give us a week. It's like, come on. So we'll see. And then like the regional, right? So there's one regional and it's in Europe. Fine. Like we kind of saw that coming. We figured that because we have worlds, like they'll get, probably 2 regionals and we'll get one. So set 6 will probably be us. Like that's fine. I don't care about that much. But what I care about is that it's the same weekend as a US sector. So it's like even if I wanted to play in the regional, like we said, I'm a grinder. Like I have a good job. I have the means to go to all these events. Like I want to go play.
But here's the
But I
thing, John.
can't.
You should care because it's all semantics. Regional, sector, who gives a crap? Like, yeah, they put one more weight on one of them versus another. Guess what? The actual size they want is different, but all these places that they're having the sector at can house the regional. So
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those CCGs could have just been a regional. Like they're just making up things. I don't even know why. It just feels like it's just like
Yeah.
randomness.
But
Like, I
Artificial
know,
point
the
and promo
scheduling,
scarcity.
right?
yeah,
Like, what are we doing?
the
Like, it makes
scheduling
no sense.
overall just was kind of rough. Like they made us wait, and then it's kind of a disappointment. Like so, like I said earlier, I'm
It was
going
going
to
to be
Philly
disappointing
for
no matter what
sure.
because they made us wait. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
like I'm like a 4-hour drive from Philly, so I'll go. But like as far as Portland goes, like I don't know. We'll just have to see. So, going around the horn here, Tyler, we'll start with you. How do you feel about this? Do you think they could have done better? Or,
Kid, they have done better, you say. Obviously, they could have done better. Thank God, Jack, because when we first put this out yesterday, as the day of recording this morning, they did not even give us the events that was going to be Portland or that was Premier and then that's Philly. They didn't even get that information. I had asked on KTD server, will we learn what events are which this coming up? And he said initially no, and then thankfully got back to us and said that we will get that information. It would have been crazy if we didn't know what the events were
Twin Sons.
past today.
Twin Sons, man. That's more
It would have
important.
been crazy if we had to wait another couple of weeks until we learned that it was going to be Portland was going to be Premier, another one. Because I am particularly not the biggest fan of Limited. I said it before in past episodes of of this game, and at least this specific set. Not the biggest fan of Limited. I'm going to be going to Philly. I'm going to be playing it, and we'll see how it goes. Not the biggest fan of it. What I am more annoyed about, though, is how this regional is being held. Why is it two separate events of sealed and then Premier on the same weekend? Is it? First off, judging and trying to figure out a setup correction for a sealed event is going to be tough. Your PQs, people are going to learn how to do it. The judges are going to know how to run the events. Totally fine. Magic has this system for combined limited events with constructed, and it's almost always has been day one, you play 3 rounds of draft, and you play X number of rounds of constructed. Day 2, you play 3 rounds of draft, X rounds of constructed. And it's all the same one event. Why are there 2 separate full events of sealed and constructed? It's totally fine, probably if we got the event, but now there's separate promos that I now have to think about flying out to Europe to be able to get a Luke Skywalker top promo, which is crazy. That's like one of the best. Another side point. Love the promos that they've done. We'll get into that later, but I have to now, plan a flight to Spain to fly out there. I don't understand. We could have just, I don't know, maybe done 1-1 of each set. We could have had maybe a regional be limited or a sector be limited and then constructed. We have 1-1 of each. Like Portland could have been a regional sector and then Philly could have been a sector. Totally fine. We have access to the promos. But we now also have this new system in season 1 where there's points and points matter. The leaderboard matters. And now they're having 2 events so they have now 3 technical events because they have a sector plus 2 events at regional that give points. And now we have 2. So we're starting off at a disadvantage going into it. Not even counting any of the Galactic Champions points that people got beforehand. And how are we going to end up? We only have 3 sets going into the next Galactics. Are we going to get 3 regionals, 2 regionals? Or how far behind are we going to be?
Regionals. So that means set 6, in theory, should be the U.S. one.
Where are the dates for those?
Yeah, that's another.
No idea.
Yeah.
It's just going to be completely off balanced. I don't know why we needed to have any off balance period. Like, why does it need to be split like this? Why can't every continent just get a more even number?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they are just kind of throwing darts at a wall in terms of like trying to see what works and what makes sense, and like I think they probably missed the dartboard on this one, but we'll see how it plays out. CJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I got a job. I have 2 kids. I have a family. I have other obligations. I said it last stream. They did not give us enough time. Right? They read like maybe would have been enough time if they just did it when they were supposed to do it, which was when we were at Worlds. They didn't. We got this one, great. I can't make it to them, sadly, which that's my own problem. But also, we don't have the dates for the next ones. So, like, how am I supposed to schedule all the other things I have to schedule for the rest of the year? And I don't know those. Like, it just feels bad. It just stinks. I don't want to feel bad about my hobby. I want to be able to plan it out.
Well,
right?
plus, what's kind of worse is that set 6 releases in what, early November. So now we're into the holidays. So it's like
not to compare this to other like hobbies, but I have friends who they like to do runs, right? They like to go running. Guess what? They already
know,
have
like,
that
a
all
year in
scheduled.
advance.
They
Yeah.
have a year in advance. They know when they're going. They have it timed off
Yeah.
for work. They tell their family knows there isn't gonna be any surprise wedding that comes up the weekend. No weird thing they volunteered to do at their kids' school that weekend because like they planned it out. That's life, right? If you want people to go to these and pay money to you, just let us know when they are and where they are ahead of time so
Yeah.
people can actually
No,
plan it. It's like
that's true.
it feels like they're sliding their player base a little bit, which I don't get.
To
Tim,
point,
what
yeah,
about
to
you?
point cut, just quick on CJ's point there. We have Riftbound, a game that's still not even out yet.
And
in
we
the
already
United
know when
States.
those are, which is
We
crazy.
know when their tournaments are. We don't know the exact dates. We don't know the location. Game's still not out yet, but I know that regional qualifiers are in December 2025. I know regional championships, October 2026. I know Worlds 2027. I know these things already. I don't know the exact date. I don't know the thing. It'll come in time. Game still has a couple months until it comes out, and I have more information that I've been given for season 1 of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Tim.
I mean, I'm just gonna repeat whatever you guys said. Like, I'm not really happy about it. I also have 2 children. I have a full-time job. I need to plan these things out in advance. Like, I sadly missed like the last 2 sectors because we had a trip to Japan. But like, at least I had those like to look forward to. At least like we got those days like relatively like on time.
Yeah.
It was just my own fault. Like, I had to go on a trip, right? Now I can't, like, I don't know. Another thing is like I don't understand why they didn't repeat what they did in season 0. Like, why didn't we have equal amount of sectors here and regionals, here and there? Like, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, there's 3 sets in this year. Like, there's gonna be an imbalance if we're doing this alternating format.
Yeah.
And it looks like Europe's gonna have like the advantage. So like, how are we gonna account for that? It's I don't think it's really fair. Like, maybe they do have more players. It's more condensed over there. Like, you can see their events are huge, but like, that shouldn't be a consideration. That shouldn't be a factor.
No, I mean, I don't think they have more players. I mean, maybe they're close
Equal
to
size.
to equal. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, well,
it,
it's a little
it's
hard to
just
say. It's a
like you
little more
said,
condensed. Like, people can
it's more
travel more over
condensed
there.
there.
Like,
Yeah,
It's easy to travel.
yeah,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like another thing is like, Philly's the closest thing to us. Like, I really don't like limited in this set because like you're basically like praying to the gods that you draw the early force units, and if you don't, you're kind of screwed. Like, the variance is higher in the set than in normal. But unfortunately, that's the one like we have to go to. I don't think I can go to Portland, just to play Premier, in a sector. So
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
um,
see.
I don't know.
Mickey, what do you think?
Yeah, it's telling that I feel like I am almost the exact target audience for these kinds of events. I don't have a family to worry about. I don't have a ton of responsibilities, like, comparatively. I have a decently paying job, and it's so close to this that I can't go. Like, I just can't make the time. I had plans on one of the weekends, and then, like, there's other events I need to prepare for in the future that I don't know when they are. So, like, should I prepare for those, or should I just like throw things away and go to these? It's really tough. It's really frustrating. Like, the promos are cool. Those are nice, but like, are they still foil? Are they still the foil treatment? Can I even play with these cool promos?
Not only that, we didn't even talk about it, but we're getting Anakin again. We just had an
Yes.
Anakin promo. And I'm not
Like,
saying that's not a cool card, but we just got one.
we got one. The
We
Luke
just got
promo
one.
is sick because
Yeah,
like
Luke is
I
really
think that's a
nice.
It's
card
good.
that
It's good promos. The pricing is great.
Sure, yeah.
I'm salty
Yeah.
that like we can't get the Lukes here, and
Exactly.
Like I
Right.
know people might comment and be like, "Well, that's too bad that this American's whining that he can't get something that Europe can." Like,
But like last
I
set,
get it, I get
they
it,
had a regional
but like
in each continent for those promos.
I should have the choice of like going to an event somewhere in the States to get it. Like, I'll pay to fly, I don't care, but like Europe is like a totally different animal.
Like, they've got to be repeating the prizes for like the next set, right? Like, it only makes
They
it doesn't.
actually are
Yeah,
not.
I believe they're not. It's
Okay, so
Yep.
I mean,
each
like,
set.
that's really screwing us over.
Yep.
Hey, no, don't worry. We'll get Ray or
Set
no,
5 Ray.
we'll get
Yeah.
what's the guy who makes droids attack? Babu Frick or whatever.
Babu-
We'll get something cool.
A super
R2.
coral set 5 Ray that's
I
definitely not
think-
marked.
To give them credit, the promos are better. It is
Yes.
both.
Like-
all
I don't
four
think anyone's
promos
complaining
they
about the
called out.
promos.
No one's
They're not.
no one's
complaining about
They are
that. But
super playable cards.
Yeah.
They're great. But I think just like we talked about last week on last episode, we're doing the 3 steps forward
Yep.
and then 5 steps back.
Yeah.
we now
It's
have great
It's
promos,
always back. There's always some number of
and
steps
now there's just
forward and
another
then back.
thing.
Prizes are much better. I will give them credit for that. Like black packs, silver packs, great idea. The promos are better. All that's awesome. I assume that maybe a flight is still thrown in there in the prizes.
Yeah,
We don't
and
know
like
for sure. Like all that's awesome. Like my only only complaint is that like the scheduling has to be better.
yep.
Like that's the one thing they have to improve on. Prizes are sick, love it. It's just they just have to do better with the scheduling moving
And
forward.
I've said this in I think like text channels before. I don't know if I've ever said it like verbally. Season 0 of SWU felt like open beta in a way of like, all right, let's get these players in here, let's stress test it, let's see what we can do. But entering set 1, we're kind of on full release, and a lot of the stumbles are now unacceptable. Like if they continue to make those same mistakes, it's kind of damning at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. So we're right at 1 hour, so we'll probably cut it here. I have more thoughts on this whole thing, but I'm sure in the coming weeks this will come up. Next week's episode, we should be having Ryan Miles. He is a dev on the dev team for Fantasy Flight on Star Wars, so that should be a fun little episode. But for this episode, we do have a winner, and it is the newcomer, BN Lego Mickey D Pizza, filling in for Ian. Congrats,
Thank you.
Mickey. First
Thank
win
you.
on your first appearance. It took Tyler 9, so he's a little jealous. Yeah, thanks. What do you have to say?
I got to restart again. Next night.
Up until 5 minutes ago, my cat was sitting in my chair right next to me, and my plan, if I won, was just to show her off for about 30 seconds. Unfortunately, I can't do that now. So I'll shout out all of you guys. Thank you for having me. This was awesome. This is super fun. Shout out Bothan Network. Shout out McClunky Gaming. Shout out KTOD. Shout out Secret, which is, I guess, now KTOD. All the teams. I don't know. I just like, so the SWU has like given me a lot, weirdly, it more than I expected when I picked it up to draft randomly. And like I've made what I hope to be lifelong friends through this game, and like it's just an excellent community. So stuff like this really helps bring it all together. Oh, and because they'll be thrown off if I say their name, shout out my locals, Brad, Adam, and everyone else.
Yeah, thanks for watching. So guys, thanks for watching episode 10. We're now in double digits somehow. And I do want to point out, sorry, before we go, all the prizing for the fantasy contest, to my knowledge, have been sent out. I'm sorry for the wait on that. Just this morning, I sent out stuff to Florida. Like all 3 people who won this fantasy contest were from Orlando, so I was able to send one box to all 3 of them, which is awesome.
Nice.
So that's all out. I'll send tracking to you this week. Sorry for the wait, but thank you for playing. So that's it for this episode. Episode 11 next week with Ryan Miles, and we will see you then.
See ya.
Peace.
See ya.